listening to the Vassals of Kingsgrave, Korra Edition. This is Katie, Lady Griffin on the forums, and today I am joined by my co-host and friends.
I'm Michal.
And I'm Stephanie.
Desiree. Do we still need to do that? I mean,
do whatever you want.
I am Michal.
I'm Stephanie.
I'm Lee. I'm Lord Manderbley on the forums, and I'm back, everybody.
His first appearance on KorraCast this season.
Hooray!
Hooray. Sorry we couldn't get you in earlier.
No, it's mostly been me sleeping through you telling me you're podcasting from vicious hangovers.
It's okay. And Amin has returned from the assassination attempt on his life.
I'm back to prove that what is dead cannot die but rises again harder and stronger.
Welcome back. So guys, this week, episode 11, The Ultimatum. I was able to get it right without looking at the document. So going around, how did we feel about this episode? How about Lee, our guest this week?
I thought it was excellent. On the forum, I think I gave it a 5 in the cool light of day or evening or whatever. I guess I'd probably give it like a 4.75. I thought it was really good. I liked the structure. I liked the way they started with Mako and Bolin and kind of built. And I thought the ending with all those fight scenes was absolutely unreal. Just really excellent.
Michal, how did you feel about this episode?
I really, really, really liked it. I think I'm going to give it a 5, not because it was perfect, but because it was basically everything that I wanted from an episode like this that I didn't even know that I wanted. And it also taught me that I shouldn't read comments. I have to post like this is streaming today article, and I shouldn't read those comments anymore because that episode goes up way before I can watch it. So I was teaching like 10-year-olds this week and like discreetly checked the article, and people were like, Tenzin, and I was like, oh my God. And I was sitting there like mourning, traumatized, being like, I can't handle this. And then on the car ride home, I was listening to last week's Republic City Dispatch for our sponsors. And it was just like, Tenzin is gonna die. And then I was quite surprised to see that he didn't actually die.
Were they actually on Tenzin Death Watch, or I thought they were on Death Watch?
They were.
They're on Death Watch for every single character, so of course they'll be right eventually.
Yeah.
This is true. But they were like, specifically, they mentioned Tenzin again, and I was like, oh no, this time they're right. And then I like got home and managed to watch the episode, and I think I probably didn't get the full experience that I wanted to because of being so tense about it. But yeah, I think it's a great episode, and there are some really choice lines in there. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Stephanie?
I'd have to give it a 4.5 just for that scene at the end with Kai. Just like, I get it, standards and practices, but still, it just...
How lucky was he to get his foot hanging? Just
so lucky.
I mean, we knew he did.
Oh, yeah, but, like, they didn't have to have this really emotional scene with Tenzin, and then they take discretion shot on the Red Lotus ganging up on him, and then they just cut to Kai getting rescued by his noble steed.
You know, I might not care much about Kai. I cared a lot, though, about Janora's strangled sob of, no, when she thought he was dead. That actually physically hurt me. Amin, what did you think?
I also gave it a 5 on the forum, but I'll stick with a 5 just because I thought it was the best episode of the season so far. I mean, if the finale is also as good, I'll give that a 5. If it's not, this will still be a 5. I really enjoyed it, and looking forward to chatting about it.
I'll probably get a 4.7. I would have given it a 5 if they had killed Tenzin on screen. We'll probably talk about this later, but I feel like Tenzin is not dead at this time, but he'll probably be dead by the end of the season. They'll probably have like a deathbed scene where it's like, we couldn't save him, he was too badly injured. But yeah, this reminded me a lot of Turning the Tides from the first season, where everything is just falling apart. We have a lot of gray, cloudy skies with ash blowing in the wind. I felt concerned for the first time in a long time about what might happen to these characters. And guys, watching Tenzin get beat up is really, really painful.
Yeah.
I think I might have teared up. That was hard. It was really hard to watch.
The dialogue also like just did a tremendous job, I think, of making it really extra emotional. You know, that it was just, I will never let you get to Korra, and like, oh no, and, just like you're beating him down not only physically but emotionally, and I just thought it was so intense and so deeply personal. I mean, like, technically, I guess this is sort of the same thing that happened in season 1 where, the Air family gets captured, but it's still, so powerful and sad and I'm really worried for all those people. I'm like legit scared because stupid bison flew away and
They're only recently
I don't
tamed.
know.
The pacing
Exactly.
was excellent this episode.
Yeah.
It was.
Everything felt like nothing felt rushed, which is a rarity on the show where I feel like frequently the emotional beats kind of shoot by you. But everything felt it was given enough time that all the characters, Bolin, Mako, maybe the exception of Asami. Well, Asami had a moment this episode too when she volunteered to watch Korra, but everybody got their 1 minute on screen and it felt earned and deep. So yeah, diving right into it to the beginning of this episode where we see Ba Sing Se descending into urban anarchy. Man, I wish we could have stuck around.
Yeah. That was awesome. That was
it would have been like The Dark Knight Rises.
No, it's like the reds and the blacks. Like I'm waiting for them to start tearing apart animals and the.
Or it's like weirdly topical for what's going on nowadays.
Yeah, it is.
I wasn't gonna bring that up, Bihal, but sure.
I'm not saying I'm not saying anything, commentary wise, but it just is interesting that people, whatever, this kind of emotion is in the news now.
Sure. Yeah, it was definitely. I love the guard who joins the looters. Stop you! I'm gonna join you. I know where the good stuff is. Like, if I was a guard at the royal palace, that would probably be me. Like, fuck yeah, let's do this. The whole, just like the scope of when Mako and Bolin walk out onto the plaza and you can see flecks of ash floating in the wind. It's so beautiful and deep and layered, and you just get a sense of the scale of the city falling apart. I thought that was tremendously well done on the part of the animators.
I really like that they didn't back down about showing like the city burning. I don't know, like they've done Revolution in the show before, and they usually are. It's always sort of clean and crisp, but like everything was on fire, which seems much more accurate.
Yeah, like they didn't shy away from the fact, which I think they could have, because Zahir was almost a little bit appealing in last week's episode when he was like, oh, you're all free now, etc. And like, yay, the walls are coming down, which theoretically we wanted to happen, I guess. But like they don't go there. They're like, no, the city's on fire. Like the poor people are still getting screwed. I really enjoyed the way they portrayed that. And
I feel like, when Amon was bombing the city, it was so distant. It's like, okay, things are getting blown up on the street and the police are being taken out, but there isn't much of a personal cost to the people involved. Whereas this, it's like Mako and Bolin's family, I guess they never leave that one room of their apartment. They just all huddle inside it and wait for the flames to come. But it's like, yeah, they lost their family, and it's clear that this is a people's revolution, but that doesn't mean the people don't suffer when it happens. So yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised that they were burning the lower area of the city as well, but it seems, I guess, you can't really control fire once it gets started.
I don't even think anyone necessarily set a fire, but like that kind of thing can happen so easily when things get out of control and looting starts. And
yeah, Mako and Bolin, they go to pick up their family. I guess, I wonder if this means that, Bolin almost had a serious moment when he's about to give the truth to Grandma and tell her that no matter what, home is where your family is. But then, no, it turns into a joke about how Grandma's just not gonna leave.
I like that, because I thought it was still a serious moment for Bolin, and good for him to kind of recognize, but I thought it was realistic that Grandma was like, that's nice. I want to stay in my apartment, because that kind of thing happens, right? Like you have people who live on volcanoes and all the scientists come and they're like, this volcano is exploding like tomorrow. And they're like, that's nice. I'm staying here.
Mihal, have you been watching Dante's Peak?
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
I think I remember reading an article about like Mount St. Helens or something in elementary school.
Well, you just laid down the B plot of Dante's Peak, so.
Okay.
Grandma's not going to leave her cabin on the exploding volcano.
Let's hope somebody got that photo album.
I was just thinking that, right?
Well, she took the photo of the Earth Queen, so that's what's important. I wonder if this means that Mako and Bolin's family are going to come live in Republic City.
Maybe.
I could see that
That's
being
nice. And then Mako supports them all on his meager salary as a cop.
Yeah.
Well, they can open up a new fruit stand over there. They need fruit.
Yeah.
They should go back to celebrity bending. They probably made bank doing that.
No, they didn't. Well, the winnings from the pro bending tournament is implied to have been a lot, but like they were getting ripped off by their boss.
Yeah, but like they're a little older and hopefully less dumb now, and maybe they'll stop getting ripped off.
Well, I think it was no, they weren't getting ripped off because they were dumb. They were getting ripped off because they were vulnerable because that was pretty much the only place they could live. And then
Right.
I kind of saw like pro bending as like pre-negotiation baseball, where like literally the owners, I mean, not that players didn't make money, but they were really at the mercy of whatever the owner was going to pay them. And, you know, like that kind of thing where the system hadn't been set up to support the talent yet.
So like college baseball.
Yeah, except they weren't getting an education at the same time.
We're a long way from pro bending at the moment.
There's no arbitration yet.
In any case, Mako knows how to fly an airship because he dated Asami.
Learn how to press all the right buttons.
Mm-hmm.
How many dates did they have in Sato Company airships that he knows what to press?
I don't know.
They were in the back of an airship.
yeah,
Not enough,
The backseat.
apparently. He almost kills Zuko's dragon. That was unfortunate. I had a squawk of dismay when they almost landed on that poor thing. So yeah, anyway, Mako and Bolin arrive at Misty Oasis, reunite with Korra and Asami, big joyous group hug. Mako feels embarrassed because he's showing emotion and he's a joyless shit who doesn't like him when dogs give him kisses.
No, that was great. That was what did he say? You're getting it
well,
in my
sorry, but when a dog starts to lick your face, it gets old after like
Yeah.
3 licks.
less
You
than a
know.
second. That was
Yeah, that.
very funny. I also loved why is he kissing that rat?
Yeah, Grandma was the MVP of the episode.
Yeah.
Grandma.
Crazy grandma.
They're very
Grandma Yin.
muscular for a woman.
Yeah. Grandma is a Korasami shipper. There are a lot of images going around with Grandma officiating saying, "I now declare you avatar and wife."
That little awkward moment was great, though. It's like, why aren't you dating girls like these?
That was funny.
Yes.
That was genuinely funny.
I have to say, though, I was a little bit like, you know, the whole time I was like, okay, what's this ultimatum? What's this message? And then, well, apparently, you know, it's not that important because Mako waited like a full 5 minutes to have like a little emotional experience. You know, when they landed and we're talking to Korra, I was like, hey, yeah, I really missed you. Wow. And it's like, oh, yeah, so what's that message? Oh, right. All the airbenders are going to get wiped out. Like, what? Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Deliver that part first.
Amin, did you mention that on the forums that if it was so important, why didn't he look for a radio in the city in the first place?
Yeah, because he looked in the ship and there wasn't one there, but he could have looked somewhere else. And why didn't
Well, they
Zahir
didn't know
think
where
of that?
Korra was, I guess. Once they found the wreckage, they assumed that they might have been at the Misty Palms Oasis.
No, I mean, they could have radioed Tenzin to give him a heads up before they went to find Korra.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
They honestly, that wasn't well thought through now that I'm thinking about it. Because like, they should have split up and had one person go to find Korra and the other just like warn Tenzin / get to Tenzin.
But wait,
Instead,
no.
They spent like 12 hours
What's
like
closer to the Northern Air Temple, though? Because they said that they couldn't message them from Misty Palms Oasis.
yeah, but like the whole point
Because
of
they had the
radio-
radio jeep. They had a jeep transmitter.
Oh.
They could have sent a message to someone who sent a message to someone who sent a message to Tenzin. Like they just had to be in contact with Zhao Fu and they'd be able to send the real message.
Yeah.
The real explanation is for this is that from a writing standpoint, you're like, how do we simplify this problem?
Yeah.
Oh, we just have Mako tell Korra, and then Korra try to do it, even though it logically shines badly on Mako that he didn't try to get a hold of Tenzin immediately.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
Yeah.
or the
Although, I mean, also, at the same time, that is Korra's decision to make, I guess, right? Like, she does need to know.
Oh, it's kind of Tenzin's decision if someone coming to kill you. I'm
Well,
gonna tell
yeah,
Korra.
no, that too, but, like, yeah. I mean, I was glad that they didn't forget about the radio in the Jeep, though,
Yeah,
that they showed the last
Yeah.
episode.
That was good.
whatever, it's...
Okay, so I have I actually have a question about the ultimatum. Did Zahir even give Korra a chance to respond to his ultimatum?
No.
No, because they took off at the beginning of the episode.
No, he did, because he didn't, at first, like, they weren't gonna, like, beat up the airbenders.
Yeah.
They went there to take them hostage.
Yeah, because he said he wouldn't hurt you if you just sit here and
Oh,
wait.
right.
It's just like
And-
leverage.
Frankly, I think the ultimatum also refers to Tenzin's, I'll never let you get Korra.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Bolin has a geek moment with Zuko.
Best ever. Oh my god.
He does what all the fans are doing, which, oh my god, it's Zuko. I forget who says it. Somebody says, like, it's an honor to meet you, and Zuko says, it's a pleasure to meet you. Like,
Yeah.
I can see him off screen just having, like, an involuntary conniption fit, 'cause he's like, honor!
I was so happy with Zuko actually like interacting with everybody.
I loved the look in his face when they mentioned Iroh. He was like,
Yes.
Yeah. Congratulations, Korra. You just gave Zuko a stroke.
yeah, like, that would be so exciting. Like, you can talk to your uncle who's been gone for like 80 years, and she's just like blasé about it.
It was really, I mean, I like that there's no follow-up to that. It's just, it's a moment where it felt like a really serious thing where it's like he's kind of devastated, and I don't know, you could read a lot into that blank expression he gives her where it's like she's talked to the person who meant the most to him in his life, that apparently he didn't even know that was possible for God knows how many years that he's felt alone in the world. I mean, yeah, I mean, that was huge, and I felt it was subtle that they just cut away from that. It's like there's no answer to learning that information. It's just, it's a moment.
You could just go walk into the spirit portal now, though, and say hello.
That's, shush.
But I feel like it's interesting because he must not have been aware of Iroh's little like, oh, I left my body behind thing.
Yeah,
like
broke
he
my
probably just thought he died.
reincarnation cycle. Yeah.
The Iroh cycle, yeah. I was also really into the fact that he was like, this is all well and good and I wish you really well, but my daughter's in danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His advice, I think, was more intended for the audience than for Korra in a lot of ways. Because what he gave her was not terribly helpful. It's like, well, you could sacrifice yourself, and that would be noble. But the world also needs its avatar, so it could go either way.
Yeah.
I feel like it was more meant to remind the audience kind of Korra's situation than to give her any really helpful advice.
Well, I mean, I guess it's also like, don't worry in that like this is not super easy. Like don't expect this. Like it's not as simple as like, oh, Korra, if you were only willing to sacrifice yourself, it's not necessarily a selfish thing, even though it is, and she doesn't get that option anyway. But it's not as simple as I guess this seems on the surface. Because I think like we can forget that having the avatar is an important structure in the world because it's Korra, you know. But yeah, I mean, I also wanted him to drop a little more like knowledge or wisdom or whatever. But I did like that it was, yeah. Although when they were like, oh, you know, Zuko knew Aang better than anyone, I was like, except his wife.
Who's also alive.
Right, and you know her.
Well, there's some things you tell your bro that you don't tell your wife.
No,
it's like your bastard sons are here, right? You wouldn't tell your wife.
Yeah, I mean, Katara is not exactly on hand. Zuko is literally like 50 yards away.
True. And I mean, I was more than happy to see them talk. Don't get me wrong.
Though they also should just get Katara because, like, she can still bloodbend, which means that she could take out, like, all 4 of the bad guys at once in, like, 10 seconds.
Well, if it was the moon is out, though.
Right.
Yeah, they could still use her, for sure.
I think Katara has attained enlightenment or peace. She's not interested.
But we know what that means, right? Like, there's a.
Yeah.
She's out banging.
She's double teaming with Toph out there.
Yeah.
Wing women.
Also, like, I'm sure that Minghua can bloodbend. I mean, actually,
I don't know.
that is a good question.
You can be a really talented bender and not be able to do specialties.
Yeah.
It seems to be more of a state of mind that allows people to do like extreme circumstances that drive people to do the specialities. And if you're already really adept at the element that you're working with, you don't really need to do the specialities. You know?
Yeah, I would argue that she probably can't because didn't the first bloodbender lady, she was basically in the same situation that like she was in a prison without water and she figured out how to bloodbend.
Yeah.
And Minghua, you would think, would probably figure out how to do that. I feel like it has to do with hands also, like maybe because she doesn't have hands.
Well, Noah Talk proved that wrong. But he might have
but she's not Noah Talk.
Yeah, he might have been a special case.
Well, that's why they kind of had to die, because they were so damn powerful. Like, imagine if they had won and then these guys had escaped. They would have just kicked these guys' ass. Like, those guys kind of had to die because of nobody could take them.
Although, I don't know. I still think the 4 of them are shockingly powerful. I mean, like, it was really, like, watching Kaya get her ass whipped was very unexpectedly disturbing to me.
Yeah, it was. I felt like she was kind of the weak link in that trio. I mean, obviously Boomy is somewhat useless, but also like he can bend, and he still sort of got whipped to the same degree Kaya did.
Really, I felt like Boomy is definitely the weak link in the three siblings.
Can I just say something? Minghua really brought the octopus form to the next level with that fight. It's amazing.
That is one of the most chilling images of the series thus far, is her rising up in the air, and it's just like, oh no. But yeah, moving a little ahead to the assault on the Northern Air Temple, I agree with you, Mihal, that more than any part of the fight, I think, Minghua and Kaya's fight, because it is rare for us to get instances where people are bending to kill. I mean, usually it feels like they're beating each other into submission, and then once somebody is knocked out, that's the end. With Kaya and Minghua, it was like, oh no, these are two people who are fighting to kill each other, and that is emphasized when Minghua turns her arm into a guillotine of ice and chops that statue in half. That fight definitely felt like these are two people who are trying to end each other, and it definitely ramped up the stakes for me. I was tense on the edge of my seat the whole time. I mean, Gazan and Boomy, that's kind of funny. And that Boomy is just like this spider monkey that is climbing and pulling hair and biting people. But with Zahir and Tenzin, it was like one of these people Tenzin is probably going to die. That was all I could think.
Tenzin was doing way better than Zahir.
Oh, totally. In the beginning, he was completely... He had,
one-on-one, he can take Zahir, for sure.
He had him completely against the ropes, but by the end of it...
I'm really glad they had that. I was very worried when that fight was just starting that it was going to be like Zahir is like his match or better. Because, like, I don't know, they do that sometimes. And that would have really bothered me because, like, it doesn't matter what a brilliant hippie monk he was and how many airbending techniques he knew before he got airbending. Like, Tenzin had to be better for it to make any sense. So that made me very happy.
Yeah. And Tenzin's credits, like somebody on Tumblr posted the fact that to them it didn't make a lot of sense that this huge group of people didn't try to fight back against these 4 terrorists that have grabbed the Northern Air Temple. But then again, Tenzin has kids and a baby and people who are novices that don't know how to fight to look out for. So I feel like he did the smart thing in surrendering at the beginning, but as soon as it became about Korra as the Avatar, he's like, I absolutely have a choice, and my choice is to fight you.
Yeah. I guess what I was trying to say about Boomy was more that, like, I was expecting Kaya to do better than she did, is I guess what that meant, and it was really upsetting watching her losing. Whereas, like, Boomy I thought would get knocked unconscious immediately because he has almost no skills of any relevance in that context.
Well, he did what he had to do was to turn it into a physical fight. Like, that's what his background is, and that was it.
Well,
I actually thought, like, once he was on Gazan's back, I was like, oh, he might actually, like, figure this out.
Gazan's, like, used to fighting, like, hand-to-hand, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Well, and Gazan's also particularly dangerous until you get right up close to him, because, like, he's not immune to lava or something.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
But even that, I mean, he figured out how to do that.
Yeah, that was great.
I think it really emphasized the amount of control that Boomy just doesn't have. You know, he can't airbend the amount of precision to which Gazan can clearly earthbend, like even normal rock. You know, I mean, I was a little upset that Kaya didn't give Minghua a little bit more of a fight. But at the same time, I mean, it was sudden. She was unprepared. And this lady is just crazy. So.
Oh, yeah. Minghua it felt like every move she was going for was for the kill.
Yeah.
Like, she picked up the ice and she tried to lance it at her, and then she made her ice into a scythe and was trying to hack through her. And, like, it felt exceptionally dire in a way that we haven't felt in a while when they are hanging off the cliff, and it's like, if we don't let go, we are going to die. So you need to let go, and this is going to hurt a whole bunch, and we are probably going to hit the ground and be killed anyway, but you need to let go. I mean, Jesus Christ. It hurts. Yeah. It hurt to watch these characters get beat up in a way that I was not prepared for.
The bit with watching Tenzin get pounded on by all 4 of them was, like, almost unwatchable.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad they took that discretion shot. I mean, they milked it for all they could, but I am glad that they took that discretion shot at the end.
It was very ominous for him to say, as long as I'm breathing, it's not over. Like, man, I feel like you just signed your death warrant.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was a little confused why Boomy didn't at least try and, like, make a little air ball or something to, like, cushion their fall, but that's okay. He's tired. It makes sense.
Yeah, it makes you remember that all 3 of the of the cloud babies, they're over 50, so, I mean...
Yeah. That's true.
Also, Aang and Katara deserve like a lot of credit. They raised 3 like suicidally brave, talented kids.
This is true.
Yeah.
Someone did bring up the point on the forums that who was driving the airship?
It has autopilot.
Was it moving while she was standing up there? It was just kind of stationary, right?
No, it was circling the.
Was it a direct circle, or is it doing something a human would need to do? That's
I
a good
think
question.
it came over when Zahir was having that little conference in the temple. It flew over, and that's when police started shooting at them, and then it followed the airbenders out into the courtyard. I would assume, like, you could intuit that maybe, okay, they hijacked a pilot along with the airship who was doing the flying for them.
A Cabbage Corp member?
Yeah, no loyalty.
Yeah.
That doesn't really bother me.
It did give me a laugh when I saw that. I was like, yeah, that's whatever. I don't
Yeah.
care.
At first I was like, why isn't, Puli on the ground with him? Why isn't she fighting? And then I was like, no, that's genius. They have a freaking sniper with a bomb brain, And you know what? They were smart about it too, that like it wasn't like Minghua was stupid and like it was just like, oh, I see this little flying like Kai who I'm gonna shoot at instead of the entire group of people. She was still trying to shoot at them. He was just getting in her way, / distracting her just enough that she missed. Like, I thought that was pretty well done.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like her aim is not very precise, and she doesn't.
Oh, that could be too.
I don't think she needs to be very precise. I mean, she's throwing bombs at people. I think she just needs to get. I'm basing this a lot on the fight in Zaofu, where she had to project a few times to hit the guy who was behind the searchlight. But yeah, I mean, if you could distract her, that would be enough to give people time. But obviously, that didn't work out.
Have we seen her do regular firebending at all? Did she ever do that?
No.
Because she has the ability to do so if necessary.
We never saw
Man.
Combustion Man. He never actually produced flames, so.
I have no idea. I feel like this was from an interview, but I feel like the reason why Combustion Man and I suppose Pili can't firebend is like something is jankied up with their chi paths where it's like only the chi path in their head is available to them to use, and so they can't firebend properly. They can only shoot from their forehead.
I'd buy
It's
that.
like amplified in that one direction. Everything goes that way.
Yeah, they talked about it like it was kind of like a genetic deformity that a firebender would work around.
That kind of makes sense.
I really like that she still does this hand movement. She wasn't just like pointing her forehead at things and shooting. Like there was some kind of motion behind it that I thought was like just a great little detail. And I mean, like I was really starting to hate her because it was just like, no, let them get away. Come on. And but
wife.
like we know so little about her, Stephanie, you could do better.
Oh, she is so hot though. Oh my god.
I love how tall she is.
Yes,
She is
and the
very
shoulder
small.
pads. And
You love
my
those shoulder
god, that
pads.
hairstyle is so fierce.
She is very fierce,
This is very true.
but she's also evil.
She's got a
Very.
cute little bald boyfriend. Yeah, so yeah, this fight scene at the end, I do not think they killed Tenzin, because Tenzin is they have a bunch of other hostages that they...
Tenzin's definitely alive.
He's the biggest threat though. I mean, like,
Yeah, but he's beat down like crazy. Like he can barely move, probably.
but I mean, they
It's
never.
all 4 of them.
It was kind of like he was being beaten down by his daddy issues. Like, I'm being hit by
Stop
all four elements at once.
First of all, it
Terrible.
was 3 because Lee wasn't there, but no.
She
Stop.
did get a couple of shots in though, like that from the distance.
Her power's not great for like rendering someone unconscious.
Yeah.
No reason to kill him, and I mean, like they want to kill him, they will kill him, but it seems like they only kill for a purpose.
Again, I feel like at the end of the season, Tenzin is going to be dead.
I think that's possible. I don't think he's dead now.
Right. I would be really disappointed if they pulled a Tonrak where they just beat him within an inch of his life and then everything was fine.
Yeah.
It
Well, maybe
totally...
Tonrak sacrifices himself to save Tenzin. How about that?
Well, I'd clap for that, but...
See, I actually disagree. I feel like if they were going to kill Tenzin, they would have done it now.
I wish they had.
No, the thing is, like, it would be dumb on Zahir's part to kill him, because A, I'm sure he wants to have annoying supervillain monologues with him, but B, like, you want to hold on to him. It's slightly unclear whether they managed to hold on to all the hostages. And, like, they know how important he is to Korra. Like, he's way too valuable for them to get rid of him.
I don't know. I feel like when you have a baby as a hostage, you can get rid of Tenzin pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah, it really depends on how many of the hostages they have left, or how many of the novices got away, if they got away.
They probably beat him to pieces, and he's gonna be in a state of not being healed for a long time, and then he's gonna be on his deathbed, and everyone's gonna have to say goodbye as he passes.
I feel like if they were going to kill him, they would have been more like he was going to beat Zahir and then he gets backstabbed kind of thing. Like, which was kind of what happened, but then it was just beat him down for a bonus. It was kind of redundant.
So here's a question: could Zahir suffocate him to death? I
Not
thought
if
about.
it's conscious.
I think he'd be surprised and then he'd stop it.
But the thing is, like, I wonder, like, I was, during that fight with Kaya and Minghua, I thought about this, where if somebody powerful is controlling a body of water, it seems like you have no control over that water at that point. Like, Kaya couldn't just, like, start manipulating Minghua's octopus arms or whatever, because those are being controlled by somebody else. And so it's like, if Zahir is at his full power and Tenzin is completely beat within an inch of his life, could Zahir potentially suffocate him? And I feel like he could.
I mean, like, I think that if Tenzin has even, like, the vaguest amount of ability to do anything at all left, he can keep breathing. I think if he's unconscious, that's a slightly different matter.
I agree. I think he would have to be seriously weakened, like terribly, terribly weakened. Because, I mean, I was thinking about that too. I was like, oh, Zahir, why don't you just do that? And then, but I do think that, like, controlling air close to your own person has got to just be second nature to him.
It also, like, you might not even be able to do that to an airbender. You might not even be able to pull the air out of their lungs. It's entirely possible, like, some kind of passive control can completely counteract that.
I feel Tenzin, if he wasn't being beat down, could deal with that, but perhaps even Korra might be surprised by it, because she's not quite an airbending master comparatively. Like, she's still not as good as it, right? That could be the surprise move.
There is a preview clip out there that answers this question, but what do we think Korra's move is?
No, wait, don't tell me.
I'm not gonna spoil it.
Don't tell me.
I'm not gonna spoil it.
Sorry, you scared me.
I'm just saying, it's out there on Nickelodeon if you want to see the preview clip. But what do you think Korra's decision is gonna be in answer to the ultimatum?
Smash some heads in.
Wait, it depends. Do we think Zahir has everybody or just Tenzin?
I think he has everybody at the
Now
end.
he has everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, initially I didn't think he had everybody, but it seems like he does. Like, after on a rewatch, it seems like they didn't get away.
Yeah, no, the bison fly off. He doesn't have Kai.
I think Korra turns herself in.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think she would, considering that's what she did with Udalak in the spirit world when he had Jinora.
I think Tenzin
ahead.
doesn't want her to do that, and I think
Well, if you're looking at it from the utilitarian or like for all the people thing that Zuko said, there's still other airbenders out there. So it's not like the Air Nation would be wiped out.
right. This is a very different situation than when Amon took them, and it was like all of the airbenders are literally going to die.
That would be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are airbenders out there, but the Air Nation is this thing that they have built. It's a culture, not necessarily people who... It's not the bending style so much, it is the community.
Mm-hmm.
And the preservation. I mean, I feel like wiping out Tenzin's family is definitely still... There would be no way to recover from that.
Yeah. I don't even know if you could recover from losing Tenzin at this early a point.
Well, those kids are pretty well trained. Like,
Jinora might be able to... But maybe it's just like, I feel like this knowledge of the airbending culture decays with each generation, where I feel like Jinora's version of the airbending culture would be so much lesser than Tenzin's, which is already so much lesser than Aang's.
But having to change anyways, because only a few people want to go up there. Most people don't want to do it anymore.
I mean, right, that's the thing about the Air Nation anyway. I guess started with Aang having to kind of have the acolytes and everything, but the fact is, the world is in a different situation than it was, you know, and I feel like the Air Nation would be going through this anyway, even if they hadn't all been slaughtered, because I just think that that's progress. You know, they, I think, of the nations, you know, had advanced the least and probably would have advanced the least. But, you know, there would have had to have been air nomads who were born who were like, you know what, I really want to learn how to drive. And I really, you know, like every culture eventually has to come into the modern day. So
Sure, I mean, there are Tibetan monks now that have cell phones and stuff. I mean, I don't think isolationism is necessarily a facet of, or that they've kept that facet as close to them as they might have would have in the past. I just think, like, Tenzin has never, like, all of his information about air culture is secondary because he never lived with that culture. All he had was his father. And all that Jinora has is from her father. And so I feel like there is this, again, there's this decay as things go on, which is fine. Things change and that's unavoidable. It's just, I would be really sad if if Tenzin left this world. I'd be glad on one level from a narrative standpoint, but I'd be sad too. It seems like a loss that can't really be recovered from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Getting the air acolytes was a good idea. I mean, they should keep going with that. They should have people who aren't airbenders but are into the culture still being able to join them, kind of to boost their numbers.
But yeah, good job, Zahir and gang. You did.
It was sort of one of those, like season 1, one of those very close switches where in season 1 it was like, oh, I sort of thought Amon was kind of cool and like, yeah, not nice, but like whatever. And then he like debent Lynn and it was like, nope, I hate you. And like literally the second, it wasn't killing the Earth Queen, it was the second Zahir landed on that thing when Tenzin and Pema and the babies were like running. And he was like, oh, good, the whole family's here. And I'm like, die in a fire, you horrible person.
Yeah, someone was wondering, like, and I had this thought too, whether the season might pull the rug out from under us and have things be resolved without a final showdown. And at this point, it's like he's a murderer, and he is abusing the tenets of airbending, and he's beating the shit out of Tenzin. Nope, he's gotta die.
Obviously, removing his bending is not sufficient.
That's right, yeah.
I think the season's going to end with her killing him. He's going to get murked.
Or she could throw his soul into the Logoloth souls.
He'd find a way out. I don't know if that'd be sufficient.
That's true. I mean, Tenzin found his way out because he found himself, metaphorically, spiritually speaking. Maybe Zahir has that clarity of self that he could do the same thing. It would be better to just fucking kill him, but...
Well, it would have been better to kill the other four, all four of them earlier. Now they have the ability to render the three of them useless. Only Zahir would be a threat at that point, if they actually take their bending away. So it's all going to end this season? This is what we're thinking? It's going to be resolved one way or the other with the Lotus?
I think so. Some people have been speculating that maybe Zahir and the gang will continue into next season. I don't feel like that's how the show is paced.
If there's any villain arc that has the best chance of it from a production standpoint, I mean, like from a production standpoint, they do have a good chance of that because the episodes were ordered for books 3 and book 4 were at the same time. But Breaker repeatedly said that a new villain each season, so...
But like, how can Bossing say be all wrapped up this season? It's going to take some time for the new Butcher Lord to come out.
Yeah.
You watch, they'll just instate...
The guy with the pot in his head. You see that guy with the pot in his head? He's going to be the new king.
He's going to be Cleon the Butcher King. Yeah, I literally think it's going to be like a 1-second voiceover montage of Sue being instated as the new Earth.
They'll drop off the metal benders. She's like, yeah, it's very convenient to have the entire metal clan and the airship heading that direction.
They also, the metal clan are useful because, like, I don't think Gazan can metal bend, so, like, it's nice to have some kind of edge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they fought pretty well against that group.
Bolin is going to metal bend before the season is over.
No, I think he lava bends. I don't think
I think he lava bends.
Lava bend is probably a good...
He doesn't have the, like, calm or reserve to metal bend.
Yeah.
Does he have the, to lava bend? I don't even know what it requires.
I think that they'll threaten Opal, and I think he'll, like, fucking lava bend, and they'll be great. Be serious.
It took me a minute to realize that the girl that Minghua was threatening to kill was Opal in this episode.
Mm-hmm. But I was actually glad. I was glad that they didn't go like, hey guys, this is Opal right here. I kind of like that it was just, she's a member of the temple now. Not everyone knows who she is because she's new, but they're still not going to let this crazy arm water lady kill her.
Well, Bolin can diamond bend. He'll make some diamonds and fire them off.
Yeah.
He is a good shot. He's a sharpshooter.
Yeah, that's true. And then he'll make it into a ring and give it to dual rings to Opal and Asami.
Why dual ring?
He hugged Asami. It was adorable.
He's going for the polygamy route, the harem route.
I don't think there's any laws against it in this universe.
I love their friendship, though.
Sure.
I like it the way, I talked about this a bunch last season. I like that they've kept it up. The way that, like, Mako is useless and all the way that, like, teenage boys are actually useless. Like, he's, like, the way all my friends are, like, awkward and ridiculous. And I like the way that Bolin is actually friends with Asami and that it's not weird. Like, that's great. Good for them.
Yeah.
Bolin, I think one of Bolin's best traits is that he's really good at being friends with people.
Mm-hmm.
He made friends with the villains.
Yeah, I love it.
Last week that was adorable. Now it's not.
It was still pretty adorable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect anything to come. I think Bryke actually sunk that boat when it was still in the harbor. Somebody asked them, like, I think at a panel, they're like, is anything going to happen with Bolin and Asami? Are you going to pair the spares? And they said, nah, they're just friends.
Good. I don't want this to be the legend of couple friends or...
Well, Well, that's what
Damn it,
they got
Makora,
past
get
all
back
the triangle thing, but then still refer to it amusingly. That's a good part, right?
Yeah.
They make jokes of it now, but
It was cute. Mako hugged Korra and then he felt embarrassed about it. I thought that was sweet.
I just died inside.
I could see them, like, reconciling. There being a flash forward in the very last episode of the season, and then, like, 20 years later, we married and had kids.
or later in life, maybe. Yeah.
Or, 20 years later, Mako drank himself to death in a wine sink and after he lost his job at the police station.
Mako's not done with the romances. He's got a lot coming up.
He's got a,
He's
spread
been
those.
gelling his
that
eyebrows.
sense.
Like, it's gonna...
I want the 4th season to have him dating someone entirely different. I want Korra to date someone different because not everyone marries their childhood friends.
Sure.
Mako dates his first guy, you mean?
That would
Exactly.
be... Mako dates Shady Shin!
Yes.
He can't steal Shady Shin from Bolan.
Guys, stop pairing the Bending brothers with their abusive childhood tormentors.
Never.
It's not good.
Go write a
Korra,
long
they're
Tumblr post
Bad
about it, Michal.
they're bad role models. They're
Don't
cool.
tempt me.
Grandma gets a heart attack when she sees.
She took a nap. She's fine.
Well, Grandma is definitely not Jin. That theory's been shot out.
Oh,
Oh, but her name is Yin.
She
No,
would have
yeah,
recognized
yeah.
Zuko, though. That's the thing.
unless she has, like, dementia. I had...
I don't think she does.
By the
She
way.
got on the airship
Yeah.
and was like, "Oh, is this our new home?" It's
Hey,
like,
maybe
Or her
the reason she likes royalty is because of Zuko.
That's the one, like, scrap of memory she's clinging to. Like,
But he was right there. Zuko was right there. She could be like, "Oh, I haven't seen your naked body in 50 years," or something.
oh, Jin was cute in the first series.
I posted a pretty funny
Yes.
Jinko photo in the forums.
I saw that. It was
Yeah.
I saw that.
Zuko's naked ass. oh, that's sad.
You kind of hope that Zuko went back and kind of paid people back, like in a bag of gold or something, once he became.
You
Fire
mean
Lord.
like he paid those people back whom he stole from the ostrich horse from? Yeah.
I loved that girl.
Song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
She
was nice to him, and he was not having it.
But that was part of the brilliance of season 2, though, right? That Zuko keeps on making all these horrible mistakes in the face of oh no, now he sees the good in it. Nope. Oh no, now he's relaxing. Nope. Oh
Yeah.
no, now he won't betray Aang to Azula. Nope.
He and Tenzin should have some long conversations about daddy issues and their inability to overcome them.
Anyone liked when Mako was like Sir to Korra's dad?
Tonrak, who, for some reason,
He doesn't do it. He just stands there and stares at people.
He's like, I'm gonna help load the airship. Like, okay, Tonrak, we see you. We know you're there. Just go lift some heavy stuff. That's what you're good for. Anything else about Ultimatum? Nothing.
Are we ever gonna get a Pali backstory?
Maybe
Not backstory, information.
we'll get a comic or something. I'm still waiting for that Noah Talk roaming the Earth comic. How he became a Mon.
If only we could draw.
Yeah. Anyway.
I feel like I have something else to say, but I can't think of what. I mean,
The baby bison came back from that useless fucking episode a few weeks ago.
Yes.
I guess it paid off.
oh, I do have to say, obviously I'm not a huge fan of Kai, but I was proud of him when he took that situation into his own hands. I thought that was a decent character moment.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm just like, Janora could have been doing this.
Well, yeah, but in terms of the story, Janora's a lot more important to stay alive. And she's with her family. I understand why she wasn't like, I shall sacrifice myself. Kai is kind
absolutely. It's just more of throughout the season, Janora hasn't been doing that much compared to Kai, and Kai always has to come and save her.
I don't
It
know.
was
She
showing his
saved
growth in
him.
character because Kai originally would have just kept going after he jumped off the cliff and wouldn't come back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Kai is expendable.
Agreed.
It was kind of, I understand. I wonder if that was a standards and practices thing that they couldn't end the episode on Tenzin getting beat up. But it did kind of take you out of it. This amazingly dramatic thing, and then it's
Yeah, that was just so jarring.
Well, it could have if you had both Tenzin and Kai die, which you could have done. That's just something that just can't be done.
I knew Kai wasn't going to die. I thought so, maybe in the moment, because it was quite dramatic. But yeah, thinking about it more, it was unlikely.
Have we ever watched anybody suffer an extreme beatdown?
No, it was hard to watch.
Yeah, his bruised face there.
Yeah.
That was awesome, though. That had the, it was hard not to be yay!
When he's standing up to them.
Yeah.
Going off we haven't really seen a beatdown because I believe when Break first were pitching the show, a part of what influenced the bending was that they wanted to do action, but the network was like, you can't have violence. So
and then
that
they were like, "Oh yeah."
But
No,
it's
more
rare.
like to have,
It's really
you know.
rare to see people get really bruised and cut on the show. And
Yeah.
that's like when you know things are going bad. Like in the first season when Tarlok and Korra were fighting each other and they were all bruised and cut up, it was like, oh shit, this is actually really real.
Yeah, that was the closest thing I could think of. But you know what else? I was talking to some other people about Avatar, actually. And they were like, so in world, this is their first time watching, and they were like, in world, when somebody's airbending, can you see that? Or are you just like blasted by like this random thing? And I was like, that actually makes airbending about 1,000,000 times more badass than I ever thought it was. Because you totally can't see it.
I'm going to actually reference a certain live-action movie of which we should never speak, and say that when they did the airbending effects in that movie, they picked up like a lot of like debris in the area, like dust and
Snow.
snow, whatever was on the ground, or like a leaf or something, like a gust of wind would. So I guess not necessarily.
Yeah, but I was like, that's actually terrifying. It never occurred to me like that, I mean, maybe you have like a slight indication with a few twigs, but still, I mean, like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or like when they killed the Earth Queen, you wouldn't actually see the air bubble.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
She wouldn't really know what was happening.
Yeah, you can only see her like tassels moving.
Intense.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Okie doke.
Cool. Well, it was a pleasure to be invited back.
We will maybe see you next week for the finale.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm moving, so we'll see. Or not moving, I'm flying home, so I might be a little in and out, but I can probably do it.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
All right, bye.
See you next time.
Bye.
By the way, when you were talking about the other podcast, we're like the Red Lotus to their White Lotus.
They don't know what they're talking about. It frustrates me to listen to them.
Retweeted by Coronation, so.
They're like funded by Viacom or whatever. I don't trust them. They're corporate.
Yeah.
We're on the fringes. We're burning down Grandma's house.
Sorry, I have no idea what's happening. What are we doing?
We're yelling at Republic City Dispatch, who is like the biggest Korra podcast out there.
Even though we listen to them repeatedly.
They're like the only ones out there that are...
Well, there's no one else to listen to. That's the thing. Like, you can only listen to yourself so many times before.
I refuse to let them infiltrate my mind.
Yeah, I don't listen to them. Never listen to them.
Overlords.
It's okay. Mihal and I listened to them just to...
They were one of the reasons that I started actually like enjoying Korra on a higher level, I gotta admit. Because I like was just searching around right after I had seen like the first episodes, and there wasn't much else out there.
Yeah. I mean, they're reliable, I guess.
They are a little bit too professional,
Yeah.
I think.
Let's start
Which is a problem we definitely don't have.
Yeah, what are you talking about? We're professional.
Let's start.
We're the PG-25 to the PG-13. Right?
This is true.
Yeah.
Don't they have a
Here,
couple
look,
girls on
there's
the
one
podcast
called
though?
Republic City Report.
They have-
Legend of the podcast.
They have Joanna, what's her name, on
Robinson.
now this season. Yeah, I really like her.
Yeah.
So I'll forgive them that.
Flameo Radio. I don't know what you guys are talking about. There's a ton of competing podcasts. We are not even in the initial search results on iTunes for Legend of Korra.
Really?
So-
I did a
It's because of
search.
our filter. We're too...
Yeah. We are in the third row, however.
Okay.
But how many podcasts intersect with Ice and Fire? Although now that they refer to Game of Thrones, I think. In this
They
show.
have a podcast on Game of Thrones, don't they? Like
do
they
they?
do. Joanna Robinson does one.
It's called Cast of Kings.
Yeah. I don't listen to it though.
It's really frustrating because Joanna Robinson it's like a book reader and Dave Chen is the non-book reader on that show. And Joanna Robinson is not a attentive book reader, and so a lot of times Dave Chen will just ask her questions. Did this happen in the book? And she'll be like, I think Stannis is the youngest brother. And I'm just like screaming into the mic and tearing my
Wait, that's like the AV Club's reviews. They have the newbie and expert for Game of Thrones. Except the guy who does the expert read the books like once, like 20 years ago. He's always like, I don't remember this is exactly how it happened. And is always saying things like, it's fine when they change stuff from the books for no reason. And I'm like, if you're going to bother distinguishing between the two, you might as well like have the person who does the expert one like in some way reflect the community.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's clear that, like, whoever that is not a middle child, though, because Stannis is such a middle child, and I am a middle child, and it's just, like, it is very, like, yep, he's one of us.
Is this going to be a Stannis podcast all of a sudden?
He's the
Although, I have to say, as someone who writes recaps, not reviews, but recaps, sometimes you forget stuff from the books.
Oh no, I'm not. And
then people yell at you in the comments, and it's like, fuck you, I know this better than you. I read this when I was 14.
I don't
You
think
can cut this out of the podcast, Katie.
It's okay.
we're all here for you, Mikhail.